Good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, or good evening, or good night. This is Jen at Jen's Arty Inclinations, a place to create, share and play.
Hi everyone, this is the PPG Choose 6 Challenge and we are in week 7. This is run by Lynn over at the Playing with Paper and Glue Facebook group. It's such a fun group. Come and join if you're not already a member. There's a list on the Facebook group and you can just choose 2 from each column as long as you don't choose the same one twice. You just do each one once. However, I make it easy on myself and I just go with what Lynn chooses each week. So you can go and check out her channel, Playing with Paper and Glue, and you'll get some great ideas too. She normally does a process video on what she makes, or she posts a picture in our group for us. So that's really nice and inspiring. Go and check out Kylie's card creations. She's done an awesome one for this challenge. She managed to use all the prompts really well. I believe Lynn's has just gone up too, so I've got to go and have a look at that. Anywho, this week's challenge, one of the prompts was a face. So I decided I would draw an actual face in mine as that prompt. The other prompts are pocket, currency, candy wrapper, charm, plant or leaf, and as I said, face. I'm doing a bit of watercolour, I'm doing some outlines, I'm using brush pencils, I'm using, what else? Collaging, just a whole heap of different stuff here. And you'll notice by the end, it doesn't matter that my face is weird and disproportioned. It just kind of works. So just filling it with colour, just adding things. So yeah, I thought I'd show you the little process of doing this. This is just on some coffee dyed paper, because that'll help it go with whatever book I put it in, because I tend to use coffee dyed paper in everything. Oh dear, so much so I should probably do another batch. But anyway, here I'm just trying to use some really bright watercolours. And I'm not sticking to the lines, or I'm trying not to, because it does tend to look better if you don't stick to the lines. I'm not trying to do anything in particular to it, because I could use, or the way that I do it, I find I can use black pen. I mean, I do a little bit, but I actually need to be a lot looser to make this work. I think I've managed to make it work by the end, you'll see. But yeah, to make this technique work, you actually need to really not stick to the lines. You really need to just, when you're doing your paint part, you really need to just blotch that all over the paper. Didn't do it, so I'm still happy with it. It's fine. I wanted to do some weird little eyes. I didn't, I find drawing a real face very, very difficult, so I didn't want to make it too hard. My lips, like the top one, is way bigger than the bottom one. It's all very rough. These are just some Tombow brush pencils. They're water-based, so, they could run when I add my next lot of paint. But, yeah, honestly, this is just fun. You just keep adding and playing and mucking about. And see here, when I add my next lot, it actually just blends it ever so slightly, but I'm not actually trying to do that. And this is where I've gone, I'm supposed to have way more colour. Let me put more colour on this. So I just keep playing and playing and playing. It was quite fun. I had to pick up my lad early from school, and he was sitting out doing all of his writing with his words he loves to do while I was painting. And I was expecting him to ask, to do some paints as well, because he really likes that. But he didn't. So I just got to have a lovely playful time just sitting here doing it. It was pretty cool. There you go. She's got a bit of eyeshadow on there. Here, this is where I'm trying to just make it more loose. And believe it or not, it looks like more of a mess, but it really works in the end. I've seen other people do this though, and when they do this technique, it never looks like a mess like mine. It just looks pretty and clever. However, as I said, by the end, it does work. So it's all good. And I mean, I tend to focus on the eyes when I'm doing these things because I'm not very good at doing the lips. I did dry this in between doing the stamp here. So this is just a little leaf stamp. That's where I've brought some leaves in. It's a little stamp, and I've got some other leaves as well in a minute. And this is why I love doing faces like this, because the first time I saw them, she did all sorts of doodles all around them. I think it was Tanya Laporte, and she did all these little doodles in the hair and on the face and all that kind of thing. And somehow that makes your face work and look better. And I love doodling, as you probably know. And so I had a play with that too. Here I'm using some oxide colour, and I'm also using some just a normal ink. I was going to just do a lovely big stamp in her hair, and I didn't like how that turned out, but it gives some colour behind what I will cover it all up with next. And I had to really think collage in this, so there were some parts of this that I really, really liked, but for the final composition, I actually had to cover up, which you've got to get comfortable with when you're doing collage, but that's part of the layered effect. Now here you can see where I'm actually starting to add some definition, some contrast. I get to a point where I don't have enough contrast, so black is a great way to do that. And it's just silly hair, just messy hair, just a bit of an indication of it. So really stylised this is. And that's her. There she is. I don't know what she's doing. She's just trying to be fairly neutral about something, neutral and cool. Unfortunately, you can't see the detail I put on the little butterfly in the eye there, but I have a very fine pen there, and it's a bit soft focus. I don't know what I did wrong with doing this video, but you do get enough to get the impression. But yeah, sorry about that. Very annoying. Anyway, added some lashes. Just find that when I use my ink pen, I kind of tend to use it the way you'd use a pencil. So a lot of those little soft feathery lines, I do a lot of that. I always have with my ink pens. And so, I don't know, tends to work. Now this is currency because it's a ticket. Do you like it? And there's another leaf because I just found different ways to put leaves in. I love leaves. I just have leaves all over things all the time in all different ways. So I just kept adding leaves. And I was thinking that could be my pocket. And in the end, it was my pocket. Now, this is my absolute, no other way to put it, it's a cheat. Really, I copped out on the candy wrapper. There's no denying it. No denying it whatsoever. I messed this up a bit with the coloured ink. I, had a bit of fun getting out coloured inks and using them for a change. It was slightly shiny. That is a homemade candies little piece of paper, so it mentions candy. But yeah, not strictly a wrapper by any stretch of the imagination. I did intend to just draw an outline of a lolly shape. I didn't get to it. I left it at that as my little cop-out in the end. Here I'm just giving her a bit of a weird-looking earring, and that is going to be the outline for my charm, because that's where I put my charm in. See? That's going to be where it goes. So I did play with using some different butterflies. I had to draw a dragonfly. I did a really weird kind of doodle in the wings rather than the nice web sort of thing I would normally do for a dragonfly. However, it works. So I probably need to get even looser when I'm doing my insects and little drawings. Just adding some little doodles around in her hair, some little circles. I added some into the eye. When I put that in. I went, no, don't like that. So I coloured a black circle in that bit of the eye. So it's kind of funny when you're looking at something that actually isn't real. So, you know, the pupils are not little circles or butterflies. However, I don't know, I like that look, that really different feel. And I didn't actually make my doodles in this very complex at all. I just kept them really, really simple. That is nothing more than spirals. You know, in a minute you'll see I do nothing more than a crosshatch. Here you go, just some little squares. So nothing hard. I just wanted to kind of, add some detail, make it look a bit busy and in the background, and then find a way to try and bring that busyness all together. So my advice, if you are going to try this technique, just play, just keep adding. You can collage over bits you don't like. You can use your pen and black out bits that you don't like, and that'll add a bit of boldness or shadow. You don't want it to look, you almost don't want it to look in proportion. So by just drawing it naturally, if you're not a good drawer, and how it comes out often kind of looks better. Don't get me wrong. I really, really admire people who, can draw beautifully and accurately. It's not me. I generally always have to go stylised. I'm not too bad on landscapes, but even then you're actually giving just an indication of little pieces. This, I'm using a watercolour pencil without adding the water, just to give it a little bit of roughness. Again, it adds more texture, more chunkiness, more layers. So that's kind of nice. Alrighty. Now, she is getting quite close to sort of feeling finished. And then, of course, I have to faff and work out where I'm going to put pieces. Just so you know, my intention when I was making this was I wanted to make a full page piece that then I could paste into one of my journals. So I wanted to have a bit of a go of this because I would like to do one that's sort of got a few artiness kind of bits throughout the journal. So I'm, just having a go at trying out a few of these things and seeing how that would look. Because how when you sometimes buy notebooks from a store and they'll have a beautiful image on full pages throughout it. So, it's a thing. Anyway, that's my idea, and it's probably doing the challenge that has inspired me to think of that. This is the part where I really start to bold it, to thicken it up. Black is my friend. When I'm drawing, black is my friend. I actually have learnt to just get more brave and just actually get the ink pen out. I did do a rough sketch of the eyes, nose, mouth and face shape before I did commit to ink. But that was it. And to be honest, I probably didn't need to because I really didn't do any detail. I just did the outlines. Here I'm just adding a bit of thickness to some lines, a bit of thinness to others, doing some more hair, doing less hair, doing some weird edges on the hair in some triangle shapes. Then went, oops, I shouldn't have added that. But as I said, in the end, it all works. Now, the next bit, I think, is trying to get the leaves on. But I don't know, I only drew it. I don't remember how I did it. I think I just kind of zoned out while I was drawing this and just kept adding more and more pieces. You can kind of see she's coming together. I'm really not happy with that left eye. I don't actually want to add more detail because I'll just lose the butterfly and I feel like it'll look like a weird thing. I probably should have just thickened up the body so that it did feel like there was a pupil in there, because I think that's part of why when you're looking at it, apart from apart from the fact that it's, all way out of proportion and wonky looking, I'm just ignoring that for now. It's just a bunch of lines on paper that I'm trying to make the composition work. So that's why I keep adding more lines. Here I'm adding swirls. But I'm not panicking here. I'm just enjoying it. I'm just filling up more space in the paper. I'm overworking purposefully, which is hard because I'm trying to teach myself so much to not overwork things. But when you want something that's layered and textured and has intrigue and interest, you know, in using colours and things like that, just the style, like it's kind of meant to be overworked. Anywho, here are the leaves, my little die-cut leaves out of my beautiful little die-cut packets that were so much fun to open and look through. Oh yeah, adding some lines to the lip. And coming up shortly, you'll see how I just add some more layers. And it's interesting because it kind of goes over all that work that I've been doing with the actual drawing lines. But doing that work behind it actually helps the look of things on top. And see the 5 cents? You probably don't because I just spoke as I covered it up. But I ended up putting a ticket under the butterfly that said really clearly 5 cents. So that was good for my currency. I did end up just needing to darken the leaves. I mean, I considered actually making them completely black, which would have been cool as well. I love those book page leaves. But it felt like it just worked a little better for the contrast just to have them darker. They were a pain to stick down, I will admit. And there, see, is my 5 cents. Now, of course, when I'm sticking them down, I end up covering them up. Oh, see, that's the top of a flower die cut, and it looks like a really pretty, what do you call it, eyelid, as if she's winking, you know, really seriously winking. Because she's got such a neutral kind of expression, and I think that's really cool. Anyway, I tried doing glue stick, but it was such fine paper. It was just too fragile. So I did end up just using my regular little glue there. And this is nothing terribly exciting. It's just me finally getting to the part where I'm sticking down my bits. See, I really love that little eye now. I think it's so gorgeous. And somehow it makes the other eye, which isn't a real eye with those circles, somehow it just makes that look better. Well, you know, I think it does. You might think it's just a mess, but I really did like how this ended up turning out. I kind of thought it ended out really cool. So again, it's the layers. It's really a big, wonderful secret. You either go bold, you go hard, or you go really minimalist, I find, for myself, and then I can make it work. Anyhow, silly me ended up almost covering up the 5 cent. You can just still see it poking up over the top there. So I promise that's still there. I did consider my pocket all around the page, of course, once I'd put those down. But no, I went back to that bottom left corner because that did work out just fine. And there is my little homemade candy. As I said, I think it's an ad, not a wrapper. It's a reproduction as well. I could have had a harder look for candy wrappers, and I'm sure there's enough around the house. It's not like we don't have candy in this house, you know, like a minty wrapper or something. But, yeah, I didn't. So but, you know, part of this challenge is to have fun, is to think outside the box, is just to, you know, have a go at using different things. That you can see I finally put my little charm on, and I just put the little string through it. I cut down the edges just to make it fit into a page, and I didn't do much to finish it off. I just did a bit of a black outline around it. I did use a ruler so that it didn't go into the image too much, you know, just skip the leaves on the edge there that I left hanging out ever so slightly. And then you'll see next, stuck it down onto a page that can then go into one of my next journals. So that's really fun. I'm putting it onto a page that I have stamped with inks or just sprayed over with inks through some stencils. So again, that will have a little bit of contrast. So even though I can't see it, I'm putting it down. However, it does have its little pocket. It's got the candy wrapper, sort of, kind of. Has the charm, has the leaves all over it, got the face, and the currency. So I think I managed to cover all that. I really hope you enjoyed. This was a whole heap of fun. I'd love it if you could leave me a comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, keep creating. Enjoy!